Thunder! 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 ThunderCats! Ho!
Welcome back, ThunderCats fans, to another episode of the ThunderCats Reviews here on the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. As always, I am your host, Radical Ryan Hunter, and I'm joined by everyone's favorite brother, David, for this episode of Safari Joe. Does it again.
Hello, Radical Retro Rewind podcast people.
So we're back at it, David, and I gotta tell you, this week started off fantastic for me because on YouTube, a wonderful, wonderful person left this beautiful review, and I was not expecting it, and it really, really meant so much to us. So I just want to read this really quickly. It says, "Hi, Ryan and David. Thank you for doing this funny, insightful, and intelligent review of all the classic ThunderCats. You guys are brilliant and most of all refreshing. There are so many podcasters / YouTubers who just end up talking about themselves instead of the topic. You have a fantastic balance. I have young children myself, and I shared your discussion of equal opportunities, which David shared. You are an inspiration, sir. Keep up the fantastic reviews. Love, Mitash." And I'm so sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, my friend. I just wanted to say that this meant so much to both David and myself. It was unexpected, like I said, and really on ThunderCats, the only other person we've heard from was Craig, who was our longtime ThunderCats review fan. So it's so wonderful to hear another person out there listening to us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It did. It was so unexpected and really, really means a lot. And thank you. I can't say enough. I really appreciate it.
We hope that we live up to the hype. And let's get into Safari Joe. First aired on October 10th of 1985. This is episode 24 of the original ThunderCats series. And again, as always, thank you to the ThunderCats Wikipedia for the summary and trivia we will be using. Right off the bat, David, we get Safari Joe doing his signature quote. Safari Joe does it again.
Ha! Safari Joe does it again! Another perfect landing! Tell me, Mule, can I hit a target or what? With spaceships, with weapons, my aim's always perfect. That's why I'm the best big game hunter in the galaxy.
You're a living legend, Safari Joe.
Now, what do you remember about this character?
I remember that this character is very cliche. You know, it's like when you, why don't you put another shrimp on the barbie? You know, kind of, I feel like, yeah, it was very like, I thought I was going to the Outback Steakhouse. Not that I don't like the bloomin' onion. Yeah, I felt like what struck me about the character is one, obviously the cliche, that kind of Australian, I don't know, kind of accent thing that was being put on. What struck me about him is that he has been studying the ThunderCats from afar. That little like henchman that
Mule.
looks like a train.
I don't get that either. That was actually one of my questions. I don't know why it had to be a train, but this is Mule, his servant.
Watching them from afar. So he's like a big game hunter that goes around the galaxy hunting prey. And do they allude to the fact that he will kill them and like stuff them, kind of a thing, like a big gamesman kind of does?
I mean, what was he gonna do with it? I mean, we never got to know. I mean, he did have them in cages, much like the last unicorn that we covered on the main show. Maybe he was gonna do a circus of cat folk. We heard him say to the Mule at one point, he did water cats, sky cats, tiger shark.
These big cats you found for me better be a decent challenge.
ThunderCats, sir.
Big cats, aqua cats, sky cats. I've hunted them all.
You haven't hunted ThunderCats, sir. They're different. We've never encountered life force readings like these.
Cats the musical.
But he didn't do ThunderCats. Yes, exactly. He had Cats the musical. He's done them all.
No, he's a big cat lover.
He is the original Joe Exotic.
'Cause I saw Tiger, now I understand.
The silence in the forest is shattered when a massive spaceship makes a landing in a clearing. The ship belongs to the supreme big game hunter, Safari Joe, who, after having triumphantly pursued and hunted aqua cats, big cats, sky cats, he arrived on Third Earth to hunt the ThunderCats. His sole companion is the robot Mule, who, apart from doing a variety of chores for the hunter, also helps Safari Joe learn about his prey via the holo projector, David. So, we see Wily Kit and Wily Cat on the spaceboards again, and I thought this showed really great continuity because Wily Cat says he's getting a hang of things right before, of course, there's an interference and they're getting captured, and he says he's gonna jump.
So there's also a part where the ThunderCats have an early warning. They know that there's something's landed, so they're patrolling the skies too.
It's no use. Whoever landed that ship set up some kind of electronic blind. Our laser scopes can't see through it.
Very curious. An entire acre of jungle turned invisible.
Lion-O should know about this, Tigra.
Don't Look Up. Remember, that was a pretty good movie, I have to say. They could not see through, and then Lion-O used the Sword of Omens to try to get through, and he couldn't either.
Maybe the sword can penetrate this blind wall. Sword of Omens, give me sight beyond sight. Hey, there is some sort of electrical interference. I can see it, but not through it.
Not even the Sword of Omens can see through that blind. I'm going to check it out.
I'll go with you.
This is one of a few times that you see that Lion-O tries to use the Sword of Omens, but the Sword of Omens is blocked. There's the one time when Panthro fell down that ravine where there was some kind of energy that was emanating every so often, every 30 seconds or whatever, and it was blocking the sword's power. So as much as we say that the Sword of Omens seems almost, and actually it's even said in one of the episodes that Monkeyan or somebody says, can this sword, every time we go against the ThunderCats, this sword seems to take on more abilities. So
does more and more things.
It's actually mentioned. But so anyway, long story short, the Sword of Omens is blocked, so they're going to go out to see what's going on. However, before that, Wily Kit and Wily Cat are attacked and captured fairly easily.
Yes, so Safari Joe emerges from the bushes and shoots the spaceboards, shattering them into pieces. The twins fall right into a huge sack that Joe had placed on the ground.
Ha! Safari Joe does it again!
And then inside Cat's lair, Lion-O and Snarf play a game of Kick the Bucket, which is interrupted by Chitara, who informs them that there is a problem. The problem turns out to be an electrical blind, the cloaking device set up by Joe to conceal his starship at his camp right in the middle of the forest that Panthro is unable to see through. Even the Sword of Omens is unable to penetrate through the blind, and Tigra and Chitara volunteer to investigate it firsthand. So this is great, David. Chitara is the first one that notices Joe. So yeah, this is really the Tiger King then. And this is Carol Baskins. This is Carol Baskins, Chitara.
It was all part of Carol Baskin's plan.
She pushes Tigra right out of the
Carol Baskin killed her husband, dead. Remember that song?
I believe it.
Anyway, so yes. So the other thing is that their computer simulates the ThunderCats and goes over all their strengths and weaknesses.
Who's next on the holojector?
ThunderCat prey, Tigra, the architect. Defense systems, paranormal strength, agility, an energized bolo whip, and invisibility. Weakness, except when he's invisible. Tigra cannot swim. ThunderCat prey, Chitara, the swift one. Defense systems, super speed, paranormal senses, including undeveloped sixth sense, and a power staff. Weakness, Chitara can maintain top speed only short distances. She is vulnerable to fire lightning, and energy bolts.
This is
Very
something
good.
that's really important for those who are super fans of ThunderCats. Many of the synopsis or many of the computer analysis of the ThunderCats all says they all have paranormal powers and abilities.
Yes, paranormal. I noticed that as well.
So the term paranormal powers and abilities was used. Like, so Safari Joe goes through with Mule each different Thundercat as he's picking them off one by one. And the last one is of the Thundercats is Lion-O, and he says Lion-O basically is the most powerful, has the most abilities, and wields the sort of mystical sort of omens, which holds the Eye of Thundera in it, right? Is that what he says?
Yes, that's perfect, yes.
Mule, who's next?
Thundercat Prey, the deadly Panthro. Defense systems. Paranormal strength, master of all fighting arts. His shoulder spikes are endowed with remarkable properties. Panthro is a master mechanic, but Panthro is most deadly when he uses his fighting sticks and the dangerous substances he might conceal within them. Weaknesses: Panthro fears bats.
Bats? That's all?
Yes, sir.
Good! I love a challenge!
Thundercat Prey. Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats. Defense systems. Paranormal abilities rivaling those of other Thundercat Prey. Claw shield with array of defensive properties. Lion-O wields the mystic sword of omens, in which is embedded the Eye of Thundera.
Mule! What happened?
Eye of Thundera object defies analysis.
So anyway, he captures Wily Kid, Wily Cat, and then he goes ahead and goes for Cheetara and Tigra.
So Tigra screams to set her free, Hunter. And Joe comes at Tigra with this, literally, he sounds very sassy. He says, with your bolo whip? Like, you ain't doing nothing with that bolo whip, Tigra. I don't know what you stepping up to Safari Joe with.
Set her free, Hunter!
Who's gonna make me? You? With your bolo whip? Ha! Don't even dare to charge me!
So he captures both Cheetara and Tigra as well. And I mean, it's a great idea, David, that the bars are made of Thundranium to keep them weak, even though we saw that Cheetara is still, I feel like,
oh my god,
so
I wrote this down.
strong-willed.
I said Cheetara is fierce. Cheetara, when confronted with him, he says he's going to get the other Thundercats, and she also is very loving because she says, "Look at Wily Kid and Wily Cat; they're so drained from the Thundranium that they're passed out." Cheetara is fierce. She growled and she like grabbed the bars and was going.
Yes,
and she called him a bully. She said, "You're a bully," and basically told him that you're weak. You know what I mean? That of what you're doing. So. To me, again, I have to put Cheetara up there. She is fierce. She is fierce. She's motherly in a way. She's fierce. She's sassy. She's probably by far one of my favorite. I mean, I love them all.
Thundranium cage has me weaker than a kitten.
Me, too. And the poor kids. They're out like lights. Somehow, we've got to warn Lion-O. If only I had my staff.
Nice, kitty. Be nice, or I'll make your tiger friend into a rug.
At least tell us why you're doing this, Safari Joe.
Why? For sport. Why else? I'm a sportsman.
No, you're not. You're just a bully.
Take that back! Brave words, Thundercat! But let's see how brave you'll be with your friends, Panthro and Lion-O, safely behind Thundranium bars with you!
But again, we go back to how people are canceling 80s cartoons and stuff. She is probably one of the most powerful cartoon females that I, for this series anyway.
It's so great, David, because it even shows that Tigra's falling over kind of even more than Chitara is. She's the one out of all of them that's remaining the most upright. And not that that means anything, but we're seeing that, like they said, it's draining the kittens, Tigra's out of it, but Chitara's will to fight and stay
She's a warrior.
strong.
She's a warrior.
Yeah,
she really
still
is.
there. And she goes, if only I had my staff. So she's still trying to break out because he knows that they're coming for now Panthro and Lion-O, so she does not want that. Yeah, so I loved that as well. But weren't you shocked that Mr. Mule and his holo projector didn't say anything about Tigra's extra activities? Weaknesses: addicted to candy fruit drugs, the 4 winds, Chitara hoards gold. Her weaknesses were, she doesn't maintain her speed, but also it was like she's susceptible to fire, thunder. I was like, well, damn. I think
here's
we all
the thing.
are.
It's another thing that I kind of was a little bit. Listen, we all have fears, and we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we all have things that would be paralyzed, but maybe paralyzed with fear. I don't know. But he basically has done what Mum-Ra and the mutants could not, unless it's just unspoken. It's unspoken that Mum-Ra never seemed to have known that a panther is afraid of bats, and I've never seen Mum-Ra and the mutants exploit those type of things, because Tigra's was water, right? He was ineffective in water. No, he couldn't use the bolo whip in the water. But
they said he's susceptible in water. The way they worded that was actually one of my questions for you. They worded it weird. They said his weakness is while invisible, he can't swim. But I think that was
in the episode with the 4 winds, didn't he say to Willa that he could not use the bolo whip?
Yes, he couldn't become invisible, I believe, underwater, but this said it completely, or I don't know, whoever wrote the episode stated it as he can't swim when he's invisible, which doesn't make sense, but all right, invisibility.
He has the bolo whip wrapped around him, so maybe
maybe that's it? Oh, that's true, he does have them wrapped around him. He keeps them close to home. Then Panthro arrives at the scene shortly in the Thunder Take. He is met with a hail of gunfire from Safari Joe, which overturns the tank. Ready to face the rowdy hunter on foot, Panthro takes out his trusty nunchucks and he lunges at Joe. The hunter fires a shot in the sky which transforms into a giant energy bat, the only creature that Panthro is afraid of. The mighty Thundercat becomes paralyzed with the fear of the sight of the energy bat, allowing Joe to encage him also, and possibly marry him if this is much like Joe Exotic.
He would go for a young one.
Yeah, that's true. The young Lion-O hasn't been captured yet.
And the funny thing is, too, is he has their names engraved on the cages, too.
David, he had him all labeled. Yeah, he was ready for this. He had his label maker out. And he knew how to spell them, too. He knew Lion-O had a dash in between the lion and the O.
He took them to. You remember that store, Time Remembered? It was like a engraving place in the malls that you could bring stuff and buy Mule used to work part-time at the mall engraving stuff, so he was able to do that for the cages, apparently.
And evidently is an amateur videographer, because Mule is capturing video of them. He knows everything about them. But I thought it was actually interesting around this part when he's telling about the Sword of Omens on the holo projector. The actual magic of the sword destroys the projector itself. The sword defies even the computer. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. The sword said to the projector, "Don't come for me unless I send for you."
That's it.
You will not read me. You will not read me. I'm going to read you.
But Safari Joe is amused at this challenge, and at Cat's Lair, Jaga's spirit materializes and tells a worried Lion-O about Safari Joe and how he managed to capture all the Thundercats. This is the first time, David, that I heard Jaga really. He did not sound himself Jaga. He was kind of like, his name is Joe. And this is what happened. Because Lion-O was like, well, what's going on? And he's like, I know all about it. His name is Joe. Lion-O, let me tell you. Ugh, disgusted.
Oh my God. I am never going to financially recover from this.
Maybe Jaga was, I don't know, maybe he was having a party in the astral world or something, or maybe he was
he's back. He's back at it after he was released from his astral prison. David, I really like this part too, because Safari Joe is waiting outside of Cat's lair, and he has this huge hole that Lion-O falls into, and Lion-O's like, well, I could jump out of this. This is nothing. But then he thought of what Jaga had said.
My favorite, I wrote this down. He uses the Sword of Omens like a periscope from a submarine.
Yes!
He puts it up and like turns it around back and forth to the eyes, and then he puts it down so he can see. I love it.
So why didn't he just do sight beyond sight? I mean, I loved the effect of it. Like, he literally holds it up like David's saying. He turns the eye around. He's like making a videotape, and then he comes down and views it.
It's like down periscope.
So that's Safari Joe.
So Lion-O manages to counter every one of Safari Joe's attacks. Despite using all of his different ammo, Lion-O counters every one of them. Switching tactics, Safari Joe then agrees to release all the Thundercats if Lion-O would fight him without the Sword of Omens. Lion-O agrees, David, but as soon as he throws down the sword, Joe goes back on his word and starts shooting. Lion-O leads him into the cat's lair, and after a little help from Snarf, succeeds in overpowering Safari Joe. So this is kind of when Snarf says that Safari Joe is not as brave as he really is, and Lion-O says, most bullies are, Snarf. Most bullies are. A big scaredy cat.
All out of ammo, Safari Joe? Looks like you ran out of courage, too.
Please, no, please, don't hurt me!
Safari Joe turned out to be a big coward, didn't he, Lino?
Most bullies are, Snarf. Most bullies are.
Few things. He did call the Thundercats, and they couldn't get out of the cages.
Even with their power-up, right? Yes. And we saw
Even with the
Cheetara
power-up.
pulling on them bars.
Going wild cat. And you know, the funny thing is, I know that Cheetara does not like to be captured, especially in a sack. She goes berserk. She is
We
not.
saw her in nets.
She can't be tamed. And they always try to catch her with a net because she's running so fast. Anyway, just had to throw that in there. So yes, Safari Joe does make a comment that basically you're luring me into your home turf to make it more difficult.
Smart.
So Lion, here's another thing. Snarf again proves that no matter even though he's small, the nursemaid, he's always put down by the bad guys. He again saved Lion-O from getting captured that one time. He did the can and kicked it into Safari Joe because Lion-O had fallen, and Safari Joe was going to pounce on him and get him, so to speak, and Snarf kicked him in the head with a can or whatever he did.
Ha! Safari Joe does it!
Yeah.
Again, is solidifying Snarf. Despite everything, he's the smallest, he's the oldest, he doesn't have superpowers or anything like supernatural powers. He, again, saved the day to some degree, yeah.
At the end, the Thundercats allow Safari Joe to leave as long as he promises to never hunt again. Panthro also reprograms Mule, changing his work directive to ensue that Joe keeps his word. The hunter and his robotic assistant then depart in their spaceship. Do you think that was a little
Naive.
premature and naive letting him go like that? Why not call up Mandora?
Well, that's what I thought of calling Mandora, but here's the thing. Other than the Thundercats, because they're humanoid-like, would it be a crime to hunt an animal on another planet? Now, they could get him on the fact that they are humanoid and they are cognitive of what's going on and they communicate and stuff like that. But would it be a crime if he hunted dogs? Like, this is like the whole thing about, like, even today, modern day people going on safari, so to speak, and hunting animals and African elephants. And there are things in place, but there's also poachers and stuff like that. But the thing is that would it be a crime? So maybe they couldn't hold him on that. But then again, they are a different character, a different class of animal. So I don't know. So yeah, I think it was premature in a way. But again, this is an 80s trying to be wholesome. You mended your ways. You're no longer a bully. I don't think he learned. I think he learned his lesson, and he can be taken down. He can lose, but I don't think he learned himself. But so I don't know if he learned his lesson as far as going after something smaller and less powerful to stop him. So whatever the case is, yeah, I thought of Mandora too immediately. Mandora could take everybody.
You know she's ready to take people to the gray penile planet, or whatever she calls it. The penile planet. So David, a few trivia items for today's episode. This episode reveals some of the weaknesses of the Thundercats, including, okay, here we go. Panthro has a fear of bats. Tiger cannot swim when visible. So is that what he said? Maybe Tiger is like me and he can't swim, but when he's invisible, he can swim? It's part of the magic?
That's an odd one for me.
That's real. I mean, really, that was random. Like, that's one of those things like, what could we do for this character? And Chitara is susceptible to fire, lightning, and energy bolts, and she cannot run at her top speed for a long time.
Well, anybody who is struck by lightning would get hurt.
I don't get her. I don't get it.
Chitara, if hit by lightning, it may knock her down. Yeah, well, it would. That would knock down anybody.
Right? Wouldn't this be any of the Thunder Kittens are taking lightning bolts and fire? No, none of them are taking this, so I don't know why they added that.
I thought that was funny.
And just like in the episode Mongor, the Sword of Omens does not warn Lion-O when all of his friends are captured by Safari Joe. So yeah, what's up with that Sword of Omens? It's too busy learning new things to play with for the next week.
No, maybe the barrier, because they were inside that field.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it, because they were all captured within the energy field.
That makes the most sense.
That's why Jaga came to warn him. He said
when Jaga was defeated.
He came in with the 411. He came in with the 411. But you ain't heard that from Jaga, because he ain't one to gossip. You ain't heard that from Jaga, because he ain't one to gossip about Tiger King. Man, I was gonna call him Trader Joe.
Trader Joe's.
I gotta go to grocery shopping. Trader Joe.
Trader Joe does it again. I honestly think the character David is annoying, but the episode itself is a pretty decent episode. And we might see Safari Joe again, so I don't know, Thundercats, if you did the right thing, but we'll see.
All I know is, why didn't he try to capture the mutants? You got a jackal, a monkey, a snake,
a vulture, lizard man. And various other.
No, I guess
mutants.
he had a cat fetish. You know, he's got the commemorative cat plates from the.
Yeah, he does.
What was that company that used to do all the plates and stuff, especially in the 80s? The something.
Don't they still do them?
Yeah, probably. He's got the commemorative cat plates of the world or something in his. I was gonna say the Franklin mints, but is that it?
I think they did the coins, right? The Jaga commemorative coins.
Yeah, the mints.
So David, I enjoyed this episode for what it was. I'm actually excited for the next 3 episodes that we have coming up. They're actually really action-packed, so.
That one of them is one of my favorite episodes of the whole Thundercats.
And I gotta say, of the upcoming ones that we're doing, inspired the podcast in 2 different ways. So stay tuned for that story in our upcoming episodes. Thundercats fans, that was another episode of the Thundercats Reviews. You could always reach David at Universal Appeal 2020, all one word, on Instagram, as well as the Radical Retro Rewind podcast, one word, on Instagram as well. We are back every last Friday of the month with double Thundercats Reviews here. And until then, remember that Safari Joe does it again.
I don't know. I don't have anything witty to say. Remember, don't be a bully.
Amen. Bye.
I saw a tiger and the tiger saw a man. I saw a tiger and the tiger saw a man. Ooh, I saw a tiger. I saw a tiger, the tiger saw me.